Well, we've had a very upsetting bank holiday weekend here. On Sunday the 1st of May, we had to have Toby put to sleep. It really was quite traumatic and upsetting, because if you saw last week's video, you'd know that we had to take Toby to the vet with some of the brothers the previous week. And Toby had been acting very erratically and jumpy, and though he looked perfectly okay, he had gone blind suddenly. And he was okay one day, and the next day he just couldn't see. And our vet was suggesting it was either a blood clot behind the eyes or something going on in the brain, like a bleed or possibly a brain tumour or a clot in the brain. And we didn't really know, but Toby was otherwise healthy. He was eating and drinking, and he didn't seem to have any problems. So it was very upsetting. And in fact, I got pictures of him 2 days before, and he looked incredibly healthy. It was just the fact he was very nervous and jumpy, and I did suspect it was a brain problem because of his erratic behaviour. Although he did calm down after a few days, he got to know we were taking special measures. We were basically being very careful to talk to him before we opened the cage, so that we didn't frighten him with the noise of the cage doors, and to make sure that he always knew we were there before we would touch him. So poor Tobes, I mean, he was so upset. And at the back here we've got Jacob on the left, and we've got our little boy Wash on the right, and Jim, you can't see at the moment, sniffing the camera. You might see his face in a minute. So it was very upsetting, because the vet basically said to take Toby home and monitor him and to see how he was doing, and it may just be blindness, it may not be another problem. So we brought him home, and we were monitoring him, and we were quite happy with him that he'd settled down. He was getting used to being blind. We've had other rats that have gone blind, but they've gone blind slowly, either through cataracts or just old age. Generally it would be cataracts with old age that the blindness would come on, or right at the very end of their life. We've had rats that had potential blindness who had glaucoma, but we treated it with Trusopt, human eye drops, and we prevented the blindness. And with Trusopt you could tell that there was a problem with the eyes and also with cataracts, but Toby's eyes looked perfectly healthy and clear, and there's Jim having a little look. So yes, we really didn't know what was going on with him, but because he suddenly became very unwell on the Sunday morning, we realised that this probably was a brain problem after all, so we had to go and see an emergency vet. He wasn't our own vet, but he was at our practice, and we have an exotic vet who's very experienced with rats. And it was very fortunate that it was a new young Australian vet who actually keeps rats himself, and was very knowledgeable, and he gave me a lot of information. And we'll definitely be going to see him again, because I feel that if you can find a vet that actually keeps rats, then they are far more interested in rat health. So that was good news, and very fortunate that we have a lovely new vet at our practice. So we now have 2 rat vets rather than just one rat vet. Obviously the other vets can treat rats, it's not their special interest. So we came home and we had him put to sleep. It was horrible. I will never get over the shock of when you come down and find your rat is seriously unwell, because when you go to bed at night, and we do our checks just before we go to bed, and the rats are all okay, and then you get up in the morning and suddenly, oh no, they're really badly unwell. Hello, little man. Hello. Can we see the little Wash? Let me move the camera down. Wash has taken it quite badly. Hey, little man. He was very upset. He clung to Toby. We always show the boys or the girls if one of their cage mates passes away, so they don't spend their life looking for them. It's very traumatic if a cage mate suddenly disappears and the rats don't realise that cage mate has passed away. So when we bring them home from the vets, which we always bring our rats home, we never leave them at the vet. We have them cremated by my friend. We will show the rats, and then we will wrap them up in a fleece, and we will put them in a little box, and my friend will collect them, and a few days later we'll have their ashes back, so that they always stay with us. There's no way I would want my rats to not be with me when they've passed away. So I was going to make a video with Toby telling you how to cope with a rat who goes blind, especially with a rat who's gone blind suddenly. It's very important not to move anything in your cage. Keep everything exactly as it is, though it may be boring. You can add new little toys and chews and things, but it's very, very important that you don't move the shelves and the ladders and the hammocks, because for security for your rats, and also so that they're not going to be scared and having accidents, it's very important to keep things in the same place. Hello. And I say be very careful not to open the door. You just heard the noise the door makes then when I opened the other door. That would be very scary to a blind rat. So always talk to your rat before you open the door. Talk to them before you touch them. Talk gently and quietly. If they're asleep, don't wake them up suddenly. And just be very thoughtful. Do everything possible you can to make life easy and prevent falls. So have lots of soft hammocks and soft places for them to sit. What we're using in our cages is a lot of the vet bed at the moment. And this is the vet bed. And this is the 19 by 15 inch vet bed. Back you go, little Jim. Back you go, little man. And it's just this either grey or white fluffy stuff. And what we do is we fold that in half and we put that underneath the ladders. So it makes a nice soft cushion for the rats if they should tumble down the ladders. Hey boys. Hello. Hello men. Yeah, gorgeous. Now don't go down there. No, not down there, little men. And we've got the vet bed all over the cage for soft landings if they jump off of shelves or anything. Hello, little man. He's perked up a bit today. I'm really hoping the stress of losing Toby is not going to set washback with his diabetes like it did before. But you can see down here at the bottom of the ladder, just about see, there's vet bed there. And what I did was I folded the piece of vet bed over and put it under the ladder. It not only raises the ladder, but it also gives, you know, a nice little place for the rats to sleep. Now I'm losing my light now and I haven't got any lights with me today, so I'm probably going to have to stop filming. But that's basically what's been going on. We've had another traumatic loss. I spent the whole of Sunday afternoon and Monday just unable to really do anything, so I'm sorry if you've sent me messages over the weekend. I'm going to catch up today. I will never get over the horrible shock of losing a rat suddenly. It never gets better. And if you do have a rat and you suspect they have a sight problem, there's various ways to tell. If you hold the rat in your hands and you have one hand, say your rat head, this head is here, you put your hand over the top without touching them or around the side, and if they do not move or flinch or anything, they don't react to your hand, then they can't see. And you know, to take them to the vet for a checkup if you're worried about any health problem, including visual problems. Can you see little Jim in there? It's so dark. Yes. And also to remember that your pink and red-eyed rats are much more prone to visual problems. Already they can't see as well as your dark-eyed rats. That does make rats much more jumpy and scared and nervous. And also, you know, we do find that our pink-eyed rats do tend to have more visual problems in older age. So that is something to think of. So yes, if you have a rat who is quite jumpy and they have pale eyes, then that could be the reason. So always, you know, with any rat, it's just nice to warn them that you're going to open the door, not to wake them up from a deep sleep by suddenly touching them or making a loud noise, and just to always talk to them. So just remember, if your rat does appear to have visual problems or hearing problems or any other problem, to get it diagnosed by a vet, to monitor them very carefully. Don't make any changes unnecessarily to your cage. Make it safer if you can, lots of padding and soft places in case your rat should fall. But don't move around the main furniture of the cage, because the rat will get confused and they will lose their way. Rats do remarkably well when they lose their sight, especially when they lose their sight slowly, because they know their way around the cage. So just something to think about, some consideration for how you would feel if you suddenly lost your sight, and how it feels, you know, for older people to lose their sight. You would expect to take some extra care. So it's just the same with rats or any animal. You know, just think about how you can make life easier for them and not to cause them any stress. Lots of extra cuddles and things. We found Toby didn't want to come out the cage when it first happened, so we were cuddling him inside the cage and he felt secure then. And when we had to clean him, we made sure that we didn't move him first into the spare cage, that he was never on his own. So we would move other rats before into the spare cage, so there was another rat in the cage before we moved Toby. And when we moved rats back into the big cage, we moved one of the other rats first, so that Toby was never on his own. He was always had the company of another rat, so he had some security. So there are ways of dealing with you know, blindness in rats. Lots of reasons that the rat could go blind. And as I said, the pink and the red-eyed rats are more prone to visual problems in our experience, and also they don't see as well. So just a little bit of extra care and thought with your rats and their vision. And if you ever notice anything that looks abnormal, rats can get tumours in their eyes and behind their eyes. Anything at all, get it checked out, because eye problems can be very, very painful. So your rat will need painkillers, maybe antibiotics and special eye drops.